what, where, how, and when. History is the study of past events and people, that is, what people ate, the type of clothes they wore, the place where they lived, etc. For thousands of years, people lived across the banks of river Narmada. They used to collect their food from different places. As a result, they were known as gatherers. They hunted animals, birds, and gathered fruits, seeds, roots, and leaves from the forest. About 8,000 years ago, men and women living near Suleiman and Kirthar hills were the first to grow crops such as wheat and barley. They started living in villages and rearing animals like sheep, goat, etc. The Garo hills and the Vindhyas were also some regions where agriculture developed. The areas to the north of the Vindhyas were the first to grow rice. About 4,700 years ago, cities started flourishing on the banks of the river Indus. Then, around 2,500 years ago, cities developed on the banks of the river Ganga and its tributaries and along the sea coasts. In ancient times, the area to the south of the river Ganga was known as Magadha. The rulers of Magadha were powerful and had great kingdoms in different parts of the country. People travelled from one part of the country to another through rivers, mountains, and seas in search of livelihood and to escape from natural disasters. From these movements, people started sharing their ideas, music, and ways of cooking, which eventually enriched our cultural traditions all over the country. We frequently use the name India and Bharat to denote our country. The word India came from the Indus, which is called Sindhu in Sanskrit. Then, around 2,500 years ago, the Iranians and the Greeks, who were well known with Indus, came through the northwest. They called Indus as the Hindos or the Indos, and the land to the east of the river Indus as India. The word Bharata was used for a group of people who lived in the northwest and were mentioned in the Rig Veda. Later, Bharata was used to denote our entire country. Like this, there are many things and ways to know about the past. One of them is manuscripts, which are handwritten records of the past. The word manuscript was derived from the Latin word manu, which means hand. Manuscripts were usually written on dried palm leaves or on the bark of birch trees. Over the past years, some manuscripts were destroyed and some were eaten by insects. However, many of them survived, which were preserved in the temples and monasteries. These scripts included religious beliefs and practices such as epics, rituals, poems, and prayers, which were mostly written in languages like Sanskrit, Tamil, and Prakrit. Study of inscriptions is another way to find out about the past. Inscriptions are written records on solid objects such as stones, pillars, and walls of caves, temples, and monuments. In addition to this, there are many other things that were used and made in the past. People who study about these things are known as archaeologists. They study inscriptions, paintings, and sculptures made on monuments and caves. Sometimes they also excavate to find coins, tools, ornaments, bones, etc. Historical events can be classified according to time and dates in the form of AD and BC. The abbreviation of AD is Anno Domini which is a Latin phrase meaning in the year or after the birth of Lord Christ. And BC stands for before the birth of Lord Christ. While writing, we mention AD before the year. For example, 2007 is written as AD 2007. And while writing BC, we mention it after the year. For example, 2000 is written as 2000 BC. However, the Christian era is now mostly used in all over the country, so now CE is used instead of AD and BCE instead of BC. The letters CE stand for Common Era and BCE for Before Common Era.